Yeah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa na'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Last week we did section number 2 of the series, determining the origin of mankind, the purpose of mankind. And we want to now start putting things into perspective, because the first thing we identified last week was, or the week before, was the eschatological elements and why it is important to understand the beginning with regards to the end, or the present at least. And we went through the process or the purpose behind creation. It's interesting to look at the purpose behind creation, because there is something unique being conveyed here with regards to that purpose, is that there is a philosophy that is being applied. And this is not philosophy in terms of the subject of philosophy regarded as falsafa. It is philosophy with regards to the wisdom that is being relayed, because essentially that is the definition of philosophy. It's from philo Sophia, which simply means the love of wisdom. The derivation that is done from the language itself, from the words, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would use the words inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa with regards to the human being and his purpose, as opposed to when he is addressing Nabi Dawood and he says inna ja'alnaka khalifatan fil ard. The same words, but a different rhetoric, a different contextual meaning. Why? Because Dawood alayhi salam was already on the earth as a human being. He had already been given his mission. He had already begun his prophethood. The concept that was being applied here, as far as Ard is concerned and Khalifa is concerned, is a concept of leadership, development of a state of governance for the people of Israel. But when it comes to the human being from the point origin, the terminology applied, fil ardi khalifa, on the earth as a khalifa. Understand that at that point in time, the human being had not yet been created, number one. Number two, the statement was not being made on the earth, the planet earth. It was not being made in this realm. So, the concept here, the definition of ard being applied, is not land, it is not the planet Earth that we are accustomed to as a planet. It is with regards to the material realm, because the conversation that is taking place is outside the material realm. The destination being pointed to is the material realm, the physical material universe. That's what ard means, because the word itself is synonymous, or rather it has many different definitions depending on the context it is being applied to. So the angels questioning, ataj'alu fiha man yufsidu fiha wa yafsiku dima, are you going to place there in that material realm one who is going to cause bloodshed? There, pointing from the outward towards the destination. So really the questioning here is, why would you place him there? Because the nature of the material realm is that it is the lowest of the low, as is the nature of human nature, which is that carnal desire, the basic instinct, the animalistic nature. Why would you place this Khalifa in that realm, in that setting? The philosophy here being applied is that is the similitude of a father and a child. A father who is loving, who has love and affection for the child, can give in to that love and affection on every instance. Spoil the child, give him whatever he wants, whatever he desires, whatever his mind sets to it. But a father who is wise will recognize where the love should be allocated and what is more important for that child's development. So the wise father will allow the child to pick himself up, will allow the child to develop by himself, will teach the child leadership and respect, humility, sincerity, and integrity as far as the development of a Khalifa is concerned. Will teach the child how to be in servitude of others as far as the development of an Abd is concerned. And will teach that child the importance of an education, the importance of acquiring knowledge as far as ilm is concerned. So the same philosophy is applied. This is an analogy being attributed. It's not to say that the relationship between Allah and His servant is that of a father and child. It is analogous. The relationship, the wisdom being applied is the same. To be sent into the lowest of the low, but to be given the tools with which he can then rise up to the highest of the high. So the primary destination was the material realm, but the ultimate objective is to return back, which is the concept of dhikr, is to remember Allah and to return back to Him, turn back to Him, leave the material and rise up towards the spiritual. Now, if this is the philosophy that is being attributed, that needs to form the core of the human being's perception, ambition, and objective through life, what is the counter philosophy? Because there is a counter philosophy. Naturally, we can see through outward perception that majority of humanity is not following that philosophy. So what is the counter? What is the other side of it? And this is where we need to understand now, if there is a protagonist in this entire tale, then there must be an antagonist who is striving to counter that philosophy. So what is his ideology? Why was he silent all that time? Why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he object to anything at that moment? What was he deliberating? And why was he even present to begin with? Because Allah allowed him to be there. And in understanding Iblis's nature, yes, the individual is evil, is wicked. All his thoughts and inclinations towards humanity are purely wicked. But Iblis was one among those who actually rose up into the heavens from the material realm. There is a philosophy that Iblis applied, and there was not a place in the heavens that he did not submit to Allah's will. So what caused him his greatest downfall? Because there are Muslims present in the world who cannot even measure up to 1% of Iblis's ibadah when he was still in the heavens. Now, if Iblis faced a downfall because of one single mistake, where does that really put us? It's important to understand that element. To lay out the concept here, there's an interesting conversation that took place between Nabi Musa and Nabi Adam alayhi salam. This is a hadith recorded in all the books of Sahih, and there are people who have questioned this hadith as to how could this conversation take place, because Adam alayhi salam was in a different generation, Nabi Musa was in a different generation. If that kind of analysis is applied, then such people will never really understand the wisdom behind this hadith. But understand that this is not a conversation that took place between two regular people. This is a conversation that took place between two prophets of Allah. And this is not a conversation that took place on the physical earth, if you want to say that. In the same way that Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to converse with Adam or with Musa alayhi salam during his Mi'raj, this conversation also took place in the heavens. I'm not going to get into the details of the hadith, but Nabi Musa alayhi salam made a claim to Nabi Adam that because of his actions, humanity was driven out of the heavens. Now, it's not a naive statement that Nabi Musa is making. Nabi Musa and his personality, if you understand it, Nabi Musa was a very, very straightforward person. He was a straight shooter. He didn't toy with words. It was his nature. And that nature was also in place because of what he had to deal with. On one side, he had to deal with the atrocities of the Egyptians on his people. On the other side, he had to deal with the Israelites, who themselves are described in their own scriptures in Deuteronomy as being a very stiff-necked people. Their nature is stubborn. And in dealing with that stubbornness, Nabi Musa had to be hard and fast and had to be harsh in his approach. So his deliberation is not naive, it is just straightforward. And there is truth in his words. Because yes, it was because of Adam's mistake that humanity was driven to the earth. But it was not the mistake that caused the destination to be earth. The mistake just made it happen sooner. The destination was already earth, because Allah said that He's going to send a Khalifa to the material realm. In that response, Nabi Adam said, أَفَتَلُومُنِي عَلَى أَمْرِ قَدْ قُدِّرَ عَلَيَّ قَبْلَ أَنْ أُخْلَقَ. Do you blame me for that which was destined before my creation? This grand notion, this is a statement between two Nabis, but the notion in between here is that, and this is in accordance to all the Abrahamic faiths and even other faiths that have a monoistic platform, is that man was disposed to the material realm, the lowest of the low, because of what they classify as the original sin or the ancestral sin. Because of, in trying to understand the reason why, the application of cause and effect, which is the wrong application, it's a wrong analysis, will always give the wrong reasons. You can't apply a causal effect relationship between spiritual and material realms and spiritual and material influences. And this is what forms the fundamental epistemology that is used wrongfully to try and determine the purpose of mankind. Always has the wrong results in the end. Because what happened during that time, once Allah had taught Adam the names of all, given him that knowledge and that ability to make deductions, to acquire and impart knowledge, the story continues. The events continued after that. For this now, I'm going to go into Surah Taha, Ayah 116 through to Ayah number 120. 120. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى. And when we said unto the angels, prostrate yourselves before Adam, after he had displayed his ability, they all prostrated except for Iblis. He refused, not outwardly refused, like through speech, but he refused to do it. He didn't do it. And note here the terminology, he denied it. He did an outward, he had an outward disobedience. So there has to be an inward reason that drove that outward action of not doing it. فَقُلْنَا يَا Adam, and we said unto Adam, O Adam, Inna hadha aduun laka. This here is an enemy unto you. Walizawjika, and to your spouse, your wife. Fala yukhrijannakuma min al-jannati fatashqa. So do not let him be the cause of you being driven out of paradise. Now, if Allah had already ordained the destination to be the material realm outside paradise, why would He highlight him as the cause? And in this ayah itself comes the mention, Inna hadha aduun laka. This is an enemy unto you. So here now we see the definition or the description of the enemy, the antagonist in this whole story. Now we need to understand what sort of ideology he's going to propose, because Adam has been given his philosophy. That's your destination. This is what you're going to do there, and this is how you're going to rise up and return back. What does Iblis propose? It's interesting to note, because one of the attributes contained within this ayah is that there is a forewarning, and the forewarning is that of there is an enemy here, but the other forewarning is that there is a suffering. You're going to endure a kind of suffering. He is going to فَلَا يُخْرِجَنَّكُمَ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ from Jannah فَتَشْقَى, lest you suffer. The toil or the strife, the suffering that is attributed to the human being in the material realm. If the destination was already the material realm, then that means there is some sort of mode of preparation that the human being was meant to be given, with which he will be able to endure the material realm. But something happened. And that something that happened is an event that caused an alteration in the outcome. And the third form is connected between is what you derive from reading between the lines, is that there is a lesson to be learned here. That man is being taught a lesson. You give a child a forewarning, don't do that. It's going to result in this and that. But the child is still going to do it. Why? Out of curiosity. And that curiosity is going to be the mother of all lessons that he's going to learn through experience. Curiosity is also a plaything of the devil. It is not rooted into intelligence as much as it is rooted into desire. It is the faculty that lingers between logic and wonder. And that's where Iblis loves to drive his wedge.